Hello, I'm starting ENS workshop now. So, yes, it's good. Okay. Hello, guys. Hi, 안녕하세요. 이거는 뭐입니까? 모르겠습니까? 이거는 라이언, 카카오 프렌드. 이 아저씨는 누구입니까? 네. That's it. And so my name is Makoto, or ENS name is called Matoken. But more into, even for those of you who might not be interested in integrating ENS whatsoever, if you pay attention for first few minutes, you might guess something. Is the important thing is I'm a judge, so I'll be judging your hacks, okay? And so I have a bit of hacking tip from a judge that I do actually judge in many events. Last one was the ETH Global London, happened 2 weeks ago. And sometimes I get to, like it has a very, I can't remember the format, but usually 3 minutes pitching and then the 3 minutes Q&A or something. And five was very short period. And you have to do the pitch, and quite often you are asked to do the demo, right? And when you do the demo stage, I occasionally see things like this, where I see okay, when I see this, I have a kind of mentally prepared that it's super technical things, so UI doesn't matter, so I have to start reading the source code. That's one way, or he just didn't make his 100%, or just he didn't have the team didn't have a designer. So first thing is that I think there's some awesome tool like Build Guild. They give you some basic layers, so I highly recommend using a bit of cosmetic work so that to just keep the attention of the judges. Because if you see that one stuff, automatically people just dozing off. Okay, and the second thing is, this is actually one of the example at the ETH Global London. Starting, it's okay, but I see lots of these hexadecimal stuff, which means nothing for me, and I had to start reading test 10 address or something. So, and the judging time have very small period, so you want to make it as easy as possible to convey your ideas. So one thing I can suggest is, just put in ENS name. So if you start putting Alice, Bob, Charlie, you immediately know all these cryptocurrency analogies and using ENS, hopefully. So just to make your life simple, because we don't have a bounty, so you don't want to make too much effort. So if you don't want to integrate much, first thing, ENS actually has its own design system. So if you don't have any designer or you don't want to spend much time, I suggest you just just using this React-based design system, but just use it. So this is a QR code. You want to take. And also for these so-called subnames, I had the time, so I actually created the Charlie, Alice, Bob, and Charlie, especially for ETH Seoul. It's in Sepolia network. So if you want to use some dummy address or something, and if you do basic integration, it should show like this on your app as well. So that's another QR code. Right. So for those of you who's not interested in integrating it anymore, just get back to your hack. But if that interested to integrate ENS, I'll do slightly more. But basically, it's very basic level. But first thing is, what can you do with ENS, and then how to do it. I'll go through quickly. And what can you do with ENS? You already saw some of the examples, but in more technical term, the first thing of when you type ENS name and getting the address back, it's called forward resolution. And reverse is that if you put Ethereum address and the ENS name back, it's called reverse resolution, or called primary name. And you might wonder, the purpose of ENS is so that you don't have to type Ethereum address. Why would you want to do reverse record, which I can explain why later, is that how for lookup looks is, most famous example is something like MetaMask, where you type matoken.eth and you get the address back. One thing interesting is some kind of UX tip is that, there, M is red. And the reason why they do is like people sometimes get confused M as the combination of R and N. So even though it's like human friendly, it's still alphabet not necessarily so intuitive for everybody. So you might, if you want to be design conscious, you might want to do a bit of stuff like that. And also you may still want to, check, show the part of Ethereum address, because people do actually recognize first few letters which it started with. And even if you just type ENS name and it doesn't show anything, I think most people get a bit anxious whether is it actually resolved into the right address. So it's always a good practice to show some of the piece of the thing. And another more subtle example is this example like our ENS app or EtherScan or that I think others OpenSea does is basically using a URL, the matoken.eth, and if you go to EtherScan page, it actually shows the Ethereum address. This is very easy to remember. Like if you just quite often, I want to, type, copy and paste Ethereum address and stuff, and if I don't remember, I just put the EtherScan. And quite often, it just automatically supplements the address, name and the stuff, and then I can immediately distinguish, that's a matoken.eth. So that's kind of tips for when you're adding the for lookup support. And so reverse lookup, how it looks is like this. A couple minutes ago, I said why would you type Ethereum address? You don't type Ethereum address, but when you connect Ethereum address a wallet to these dApps, the dApps knows the Ethereum address, and that's when dApps actually look up the name. Look up the address and they return the name, and this is how it looks. And interestingly, it has some avatar information as well. And so avatar is another thing. I think ENS is mostly known for storing Ethereum address, but you can actually set many different coin types, like Bitcoin or any other EVM chains. And also you can set random key value store. And we have some specification especially for avatar, that you can just upload a JPEG URL, but you can also specify the combination of ERC. This example in the green, it says EIP155, which specify basically, I think, one is chain ID, and the ERC721 is the NFT coin type. And if you put the token address, the NFT collection contract address and the token ID, we can fetch the NFT metadata image and they can show it to you. And so that's another case. And also, quite often, again, it's most intimidating thing when people goes into the crypto is when you try to create a wallet and they have where to send it, and that's the point you see the direct address. So if you are probably in this hackathon, I'm not sure how many people actually create a wallet, but even if you're creating a dApp, when you onboard a user for the first time, if you can create a subname under your name, so for example, in this case is Uniswap, is a famous decentralized exchange. And they recently announced to have their own wallet, and when they onboard the user, they can actually let user to choose their own subname, and they gives makoto.uni.eth or something like that. So that's another use case for ENS. And this is just more of the inspiration that, again, in last hackathon I just went in London, there's one my friend did the hack, which was interesting is that at the East Global London, they had this security thing, but they had a NFC tip embedded. And every time they go, I think people were scanning. So people know that East Global had a stats of how many people went to which talks and the stuff. But people try to add with NFC chip, people try to add some incentive. Then one of the hacker just spot the opportunity, and he created, I think, a bound wallet made out of the NFC card of the participant's bracelet or something like that. So that interesting case of NFC is something you might want to work on. And we also have a kind of our internal hack that we basically print out this kind of plastic card with NFC, where we give at the events. I think last the events we gave away is at the Istanbul hackathon, where basically if they pre-register, we can pull off all the avatar text record, and so we create a custom NFC card where if you agree with people, you can actually try it out after this my talk is that basically it goes to this URL where you type your ENS and you mint this cute little pop of Erika dancing with the Korean song, and then you can get a NFT, that kind of stuff. So that kind of stuff, I think the physical stuff will be quite always get judges' attention. So like if that's something you might want to consider integrating. And so that was like what you can do. And now it's about how to do. But most of what I'm gonna say will be in docs.ens.domain. So if you're interested, again, photo time. Just like now. Yeah. So if you took the photo and if it was with me, please tweet and hashtag me as well, so I can retweet. And so level 0. Most of the, I think, bounties stuff, there's lots of prize, but at the same time, it's quite difficult stuff. Like, there's what's a trend? Like, DA's data availability is always a rage, and the roll up like was a chain abstraction, chain, all the stuff. It's quite complex, but ENS is one of the easiest things to integrate, and you might already integrate it with noticing is the fact that how many people one that uses something like Rainbow Kit, Web3 model, and Connect Kit, they give you again, it's more slightly different to a Thorin design system, but they give you basic design template and a way to connect to the wallet and the stuff. And these, they actually all them have ENS integrated. So if you copy and paste some of the examples, you may have already integrated with ENS. And also, WAGMI is an interesting one. Actually, curious to know who's going to use WAGMI. Okay, 3 people. Rainbow Kit. Oh, Web Model 2. 1. So this audience is very hardcore people with the no UI thing, like I showed in page 3. Okay, got it. Yeah, but if you want to do bit more, get more attention from the judges, I highly recommend you spend at least 5 to 30 minutes before hackathon ends to just brush it up. And so WAGMI is good. ETH.js? No? Is this like... Okay, I'm curious. Can you guys shout out what kind of framework you're using for the basic thing? Yeah. What's that? I can't hear, but anyway. Okay, it's good. Always interesting to know in these hackathon situations, like what's the trending new tools. So like, if you are using something cool, which not mentioned here, please come and say hi and just show about your favorite tool set so I can show next time. And Thorin design system I already mentioned. And then level 1 is actually, if you want to pay a bit more attention about how to do, it's very easy. So this is WAGMI, have a set of like a is it function or I forgot? I forgot how to call these things, but tools to functions, to call it. And what this example is, you use the ENS address, and if you put luke.is and you get the name back. I think this is bug because the address should be the Ethereum address, not the Luke. Yeah, never mind. And also, as I mentioned, you can not only set the Ethereum address, but you can also set different coin types. So coin types is slightly different from chain ID, which people are familiar with in the Ethereum community. The coin types is more initially created to express the address format for the different coins, and it started from I think to create the wallet. So the coin type 0 is actually BTC, and so you can start coin type which is defined in a place called slip44, or we also define that ways because all the EVM chains don't not necessarily have a same address format as Ethereum, so they don't have the register in a slip44. We have a way to kind of convert EVM chain ID to a coin type. So if you are in a cutting edge chains which not specify, you can actually derive the coin type. And this is if anyone's actually going to integrate. The latest trend is I think there are many kind of EVM chains or layer 2, and as you might know, Ethereum ENS is in the mainnet only. So you might think okay, I can't resolve ENS name on my favorite chain, but actually something like Wagmi, each function can decide which chain to connect. So in this case, it's only when you look up the ENS address, you can actually specify chain ID 1. And there's something about all your main connection, it can be somewhere else. So this is one thing you might want to take into consideration. And I think if you want to use my Alice, Bob, and Charlie subnames, that's for the Sepolia chain ID. Does anyone know Sepolia chain ID? Look up, but you would know. Okay. And this is for using the text record, but I think we created especially for ENS avatar and ENS name. And okay, so this is subset of text record where you can actually get the name and avatar. And the more generic one is there's one called use ENS text where you can define your own key and value. Okay, and there are some preset data types. So if you want to use kind of ENS as a data storage for it's expensive to do in mainnet, but you can do it on the Sepolia for the hackathon stuff. This could be a handy kind of quick dictionary. You can put your identity information. Okay, and issuing subnames. For issuing this Alice, Bob, Charlie, I actually went to the ENS website and just did click subname. But there's actually more different, actually mainly 3 ways to issue subnames. And some of them are actually gas-free. So if you actually want to issue subnames in mainnet, and if you're worried about paying for the gas, you could use one of the things called off-chain resolver, and there's a sample repo. So you can actually just fork this and then start building on it. And I think this one also uses Thorin, so it has some decent design. And one stuff interesting is once you interacted with ENS, you may want to get more, especially subnames. You may want to get information in the list as a transaction. In a transaction history, you might want to. For list of a text or list of subnames, these are not something you can actually call the ENS function to get returned. So something like that, you might want to look for fetch the data from subname, which we have. And so reading is good, but to read the data, you actually have to write it. If you just want to do sample data, you can just do from our ENS manager. But if you want to programmatically do it, there's a couple of ways. We have our own. And I think for the writing the record, most tools I introduced doesn't actually support. So you might want to either use ENS.js or probably one obvious fact is ENS is just a bunch of smart contract. So you can actually include a smart contract through NPM module and just interact with the ENS contract directly. And just basic architecture is I often mention is ENS is a very simplified dictionary. But the main difference is dictionary is usually just have one thing with key and value. But in our case, we have something called resolver, where when you look up for matoken.eth, intern under the hood, rather than returning the Ethereum address from the registry contract, it actually returns so-called resolver contract. And the resolver contract is the one which usually contains the actual record. And the reason we do it is like by switch, you can actually customize and you can write your own resolver, or if you want to upgrade to the new version of the resolver comes in, people can switch to the new one per name. And so this is the basic structure. And one terminology you want to be aware is that we don't just store ENS name as a string. We actually hash it, but not just hashing it. If you hash the entire thing, you cannot derive each like subnames from the parent. So we actually have something called name hash, which kind of hashing the label recursively, so that you can, you can, if you know the parent's domain name and if you know the label, you can kind of separate these things. And this is just an example. And again, all the detail is in this docs. But like I'll be around today. And so if you have any questions, feel free to say hi and just ask questions, and they get my NFT badges. Thank you very much.